So, so the first question we should address to is what exactly is an ovule? So the ovule is a part of the ovary of plants, which is the site of fertilization and development of the embryo. So the ovules contain female gametes, which are the female sex cells, and after fertilization, these ovules become the seeds of the fruit which is formed. So here we have a section of a typical angiospermic ovule, where you can see many parts, which we will cover in three major parts in the following slide. So let's talk about the structure of an ovule. So considering the earlier image of the section of an ovule, we see that there are three major parts which make up this angiospermic ovule. So the first part we're covering is the integument, the second part is the nucellus, and the third part is the megagametophyte. So the first which we'll cover is the nucellus. So the nucellus is the largest part of the ovule. It encloses the embryo sac, and the embryo sac is just a fancy name for the female gametophyte, which we will come to see in the later slide. And it also encloses a nutritive tissue called the endosperm. So here the endosperm's function is to provide nutrients for the fertilized egg cell, and those nutrients are in the form of starch. So if you see this diagram, if you see that the bluish white area in between, that's what we call the nucellus. Next we have the integument, or the integuments, pluralized. So the integument is a double-layered protective cellular sheath which covers the ovule, and they almost completely surround that area, but they leave a small opening which is called the micropyle. So the two layers are called the inner and outer integument. Not really much to see, that's pretty obvious. So if you can see if you can see this image, the darker one is the outer integument and the lighter one is the inner integument. And if you see the small hole over here, that's your micropyle. And the micropyle is the area from where even the pollen tube enters to fertilize. So the last part of the ovule would be the megagametophyte. So if you see in the nucleus, there's a small structure called the megaspore. So this megaspore is the structure which gives rise to the further structure called the megagametophyte. And this megagametophyte, its function is to produce egg cells. And the megagametophyte structure, if we have to go a little deeper into it, so they usually have around 7 to 8 nuclei, which varies from species to species. And in turn, the megagametophyte is formed by three repetitive mitotic divisions of the metaspore. So if you see this area, if you can see the small circular structure inside, that would be your megagametophyte. It has 8 structures in it, which are the form 3 plus 2 plus 3, which are antipodal cells, synergids, and polar nuclei. So a small section of what exactly an embryo contains, that's after the fertilization of the female gamete. So after fertilization of the gamete, of both the gametes, male and female, we get an embryo, which consists of 3 major parts, which would be obviously the whole structure, which is called the embryo. And there are 2 structures, or 1, depending on the species, which are called cotyledons. And there's a seed coat. So if you see this image, the whole structure, it's an embryo. The embryo further develops into the plant, the plumule and the radicle, the shoot and root. The cotyledons are the bean-like structures on the sides. They have that endosperm which provides nutrition to the developing embryo, and the seed coat is just the outer layer which gives extra protection. Okay, now we'll move on to types of ovules. So the basis of categorization is just solely their shape, nothing much. So based on this very factor of shape, ovules are majorly of 5 types, which is in this chart. We have orthotropous, anatropous, amphitropous, cercinotropous, and campylotropous. So we'll go over them one by one with examples and how they look. So first we'll go over orthotropous ovules. So orthotropous ovules are the ovules where the chalaza, the funicle, and the micropyle are perfectly aligned. So for example, we have Polygon. So these terms are, I know, a bit complicated, so just a small definition into them. The chalaza is basically the area where the integument and the nucleus meet. So if you can see this bulged part over here, This is the chalaza, the integument and the nucleus meeting. After that, we have the funicle, which is just the stalk, and we have the micropyle, which is this open. So if you can see that almost perfectly in line. So if that's the case, the ovule is called an orthotropous ovule. And the polygonum example, this is how the polygonum plant looks. It's pretty common in these areas as well. Next, we have the anatropous ovules. So anatropous ovules are the ovules where the ovule completely inverts a complete 180-degree turn, so that the hilum and micropyle lie close to each other. So as I already mentioned, micropyle is just the opening from where the pollen tube enters. It's just an opening in the integuments. And hilum would be, it's just a sort of mark, a sort of scar which was left on the seed coat. So an example is helianthus, which is basically a sunflower. And this is how an anatropous ovule looks. You can see it's completely inverted, 180 degrees. Next, we have the amphitropous ovules. So these ovules are where the body of the ovule is curved to such an extent that it gets a horseshoe-like shape. So example is your poppy plants. And this is how an amphitropous ovule looks like. It's similar to a horseshoe, not exactly, I cannot say that, but it's quite similar. And this is your poppy plant. The next one will be the circinotropous ovules. So these ovules are where the funicle, which is the stalk, it's longer than usual. And here the ovary completes a circle and the micropyle points upwards. Micropyle, again, the small opening in the integument from where the pollen tube enters. So we have the opening over there. We see it's completing a full circle and it's pointing upwards. And opuntia is the example for which shows such ovules. Last, we have the campylotropous ovules. So these ovules are where the body of the ovule is bent to such an extent that the alignment between the chalaza and the micropyle is completely lost. And example, we have the mustard plant. So if you can see in this image, the chalaza, which is this area over here, and the micropyle are completely disoriented. And this is your mustard plant. So yeah, thank you. That's me.